connect.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome. We are glad you could join us. Prakriti Foundation is an arts and culture NGO in Chennai, founded in 1998, and it has been a space where scholars, researchers, artists, critics, poets, and filmmakers have been able to present their work to those who engage with it on serious terms. One of its 4 annual festivals, Poetry with Prakriti, features eminent and emerging poets from India and abroad, presenting to small, intimate audiences at several venues in the city, such as schools, colleges, cafes, galleries, boutiques, banks, IT parks, green public parks, and other commercial establishments. Due to travel and public gathering restrictions, Poetry with Prakriti is online this year, with readings on the first 3 Saturdays of every month, bringing you poetry via your computer or smartphone screen. We are mindful of video conferencing fatigue, so there are short events, around 15 to 20 minutes of reading a different poet each time, followed by a question and answer session with the poet. As part of our festival, we do sessions remembering our poets who are no longer with us, which started with a reading honoring Margaret Mascarenas. In the months ahead until the end of this festival, hopefully we'll all be able to have a more conventional festival. Prakriti Foundation will bring you many, many more poets, some well-loved, others who have not yet got wider audience. We will take questions after the reading. Feel free to chat with each other and comment in the chat session. But questions for the poet must only be typed in the question and answer section. There is a box, not in the chat box. Please keep your questions brief and, if possible, connected directly to the poems being read. We'll try to take all the questions that come up, but that may not be possible due to time restrictions. This week, in collaboration with the Department of English, Anna Adarsh College for Women, Chennai, our poet is Abhay K, and our moderator is Vidya Gajapati Raju, the princesses of Vijayanagaram and a wedding planner. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Abhay K to our session today. And I have chatted with him before, and it's always been wonderful to listen to him and hear his opinions and listen to his poetry. And not only is he a poet, but he's a diplomat first. And I think it's incredible that he's India's youngest ambassador, and he is the current ambassador to Madagascar. So Abhay, I really it's a pleasure to welcome you here. Just a brief few sentences about you, which I have to read, and so that people also are aware of all the other aspects of yours. So Abhay K is the author of 9 poetry collections, including The Magic of Madagascar, The Alphabets of Latin America, and the Book of Bihari Literature, among others. His Earth Anthem has been translated into over 140 languages. He received the SAARC Literary Award 2013 and was invited to record his poems in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. in 2018. His translations of Kalidasa's Meghaduta and Ritusamhara have won the KLF Poetry Book of the Year Award in 2021. His forthcoming book-length poem is titled Monsoon. Abhay, I hand over to you. Please
Thank you.
Take it from
so
here.
much for this very sweet introduction. Very kind of you, and thanks to Mr. Shah and everybody, Meera and Harish, and also the college principal who is with us, Madam Archana, and all the audience. I'm going to start reading my forthcoming poem, Monsoon. And I wake up with your thoughts, your fragrance reaching me all the way from the Himalayas to the island of Madagascar. Brought by monsoon from the Himalayan valley to the hills of Antananarivo on its return journey via Chennai. I dream of you every night, The gleaming dawn snatches my dreams, but the morning breeze comes whispering your name. My mind with your thoughts, only your thoughts, my love. I am far away in this island in the Indian Ocean, craving for your sweet kisses, gazing at the moon, Venus, and myriad star constellations, hoping you are gazing at them too. I wait for the monsoon to be born, to send you sights, sounds, and aroma of this island, redolent of vanilla, cloves, ylang ylang, plants, and herbs. Monsoon wave-like mass of air, the primeval traveler from the sea to the land in summer, go to my love in the paradisal Himalayan valley. For centuries you have taken merchants across the Indian Ocean. You have guided the legendary Sindbad and Vasco da Gama and brought wealth and joy to millions. Your absence, alas, brings famine and death. The gift of Indra offered with rains, at times just a spell of scattered showers, at times unceasing rainstorm for days at a stretch, waiting passion of lovers with your fragrance and sounds. Lovesick and far away from my beloved, I pray to you, take along with you the sweet songs of the Vasa parrots, the haunting wail of the Indri, the sound of sea waves crashing on the coral beaches, cicadas vibrating their timbals in Ankarana, mating calls of the golden mantelas, infant-like cries of the sickle-billed vangas, the sight of eyes blissfully conjoined at midnight in Masaola rainforests, fierce fossas mating in the Kirindi, colorful turtles frolicking in the Emerald Sea. Yellow comet moths swarming Rano Mafana radiated tortoises carrying galactic maps on their backs, so manga sunbird sipping nectar, white sifaka dancing in a herd, ring-tailed lemurs feasting on baobab flowers, hedgehog tenrecs turning into spiny balls, Vasa parrots consorting with their mates, blossoming jacarandas painting the sky purple. Traveler's palm stretching its arms in prayer, baobabs meditating like ascetic turned upside down. Giraffe-necked red beavers perched on the leaves, fragrant champa flowers scattered on the ground. Colorful Mahapali tombs dotting the countryside, erotic Sakalawa sculptures arousing longings in mind, innumerable rock temples sculpted by elements at Isalo, each one a homage to Lord Pashupatinath. Monsoon, I urge you to carry these sounds and sights of Madagascar to my love in the pristine Himalayan valleys, whetting her senses. Now I'm going to read from the Magic of Madagascar, which is a collection of haiku on Madagascar. And then I'll read from the alphabets of Latin America. Wait, raid for thee. Spring will come. Admiring its own reflection, a heron at Mare Masai. Sea of innocence, exuding amber light, lemur's eyes. Through the crown of a triangle palm, the blue expanse. An ascetic meditating turned upside down, the baobab tree. Lost in the rainforest of Ivoloina. What a bliss. And now I'm going to read from the Alphabets of Latin America, which is a collection of poems on the Latin American continent. Amazon. The anaconda was missing, so they offered us piranha fishing in consolation and bathing with pink dolphins in the Black River. They caught the poor baby caimans at night while they were sleeping and took us across the river to meet the Indians. There were none. Borges. I know of one Greek labyrinth which is a single straight line. Along that line, so many philosophers have lost themselves. George Louis Borges, Death and the Compass. Looking for Borges, I came to Argentina. I found him nowhere. I searched all the libraries and cafes, all the labyrinthine streets of Buenos Aires. He was not even at La Recoleta. I found merely a mirror and a face staring at me in disbelief. It's hard to believe. Everyone told me Borges lived in Argentina. The next poem is Botero's Women. Botero is an artist from Colombia. And these are, it's about the sculptures he makes. Botero's women are bare, colossal delights, exaggerated, flaunting, gentle, hypnotic, inflated, jumbos, Kafkaesque, lustful, mythical, nudes, out of proportion, political at times, quagga-like resplendent, rotund, satirical, towering, urgent, voluptuous, whimsical, xeroxed, yearning, zoomorphic, but not fat. The next one is called Gabriela Mistral. Gabriela Mistral was a poet from Chile, and she was the first winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature from Latin America. And it's a poem about, inspired from her poem, which is called Dame la mano in Spanish, means give me your hand. Read me your poem, and we shall float freely across the cosmos like a comet. Read me your poem, and I will be blessed, like a butterfly drunk on nectar. We shall drink the same verse from the fountain of the universe, like two hummingbirds in mid-air, like two hummingbirds, nothing more. You are swift wind, and I'm a fearless horse, and we shall leap together to the moon, because we are two bodies, but one soul, and nothing more. The next one is a poem on Octavio Paz, which was mentioned earlier. History is one thing, our lives something else. I have survived, that's enough. Octavio Paz. Staring at a draft of shadows, I straddle between two pasts. My feet on two boats, I keep afloat composing poems. I'm alone in a library, reading forbidden books. I lose my faith reading Voltaire. The library crumbles in front of my eyes. I'm happy I have survived. I come across Godemiches in Paris. Don't know what are these. Embarrassed, I asked a surrealist who whispers in my ears. These are objects to overcome profound human loneliness. I think all fighting is absurd, but cannot tell it to anyone. So I go to see Neruda. He calls me a traitor, then embraces me affectionately, calling me son. Meeting Buddha in India, on the footpath, I ask, what is self? Buddha smiles and turns into a pile of stones. And here's a poem about Neruda, because I mentioned Neruda. So one of the legends of Latin America. I visited his home. In fact, 3 houses in Chile. And here's a poem. What did my father say when I showed him my first poem? What did the Pariya Tamil girl say, whom I thought to be a 1,000-year-old goddess? I raped her, thinking it the coming together of a man and a statue. What did my ailing daughter say before she died, aged 8, in Nazi-occupied Netherlands? Did I hear her voice coming from across the ocean? What did the dissident poets say in freezing Siberian gulags, listening to my ode to the Kremlin Highlander? What did the doctor say before injecting me in the stomach at a Santiago hospital? I died 6.5 hours later. Now I have been exhumed. I'm trying to remember. How much time I have? How much more time?
Can do another one poem, so 4 minutes.
Okay. So here is a short poem called Samba, which is just 3 lines. A beam of light enters a dark alley. Spirit takes over body. And just to use the time, I will read a poem about Victoria Ocampo, because also Tagore and Victoria are sort of symbols of India and Latin America connection. An ailing poet, sheltered in her home, her heart, she, his Vijaya, his poetry, his life. Victoria and Tagore, two souls dancing in ecstasy, put away, blowing incessantly between India and Argentina. And the last one is Zocalo. In the middle of this vast square, the Zocalo is a square in Mexico City. In the middle of this vast square, I stand alone, meditating, racing back and forth in time, hearing jeers of the victors, silence of the vanquished, all swept away by time's broom. Does it matter who loses, who wins a war? A people, a tribe, a nation is destroyed only to reincarnate in another form. Thank you.
Abhay, thank you so much for sharing these beautiful, powerful words with us. And I think you can see a whole lot of very evocative images coming through your words. And you can actually, I wish we could go on some more and read more poetry. I think it would be nice. But you know, I would like to just go back to what you actually do other than writing poetry. Is you're the 21st ambassador to Madagascar, India's 21st ambassador to Madagascar. Tell us briefly your journey in the diplomatic world. You've done Russia, you've been in Brazil and Nepal. And how did your journey go through those diplomatic years?
Well, I mean, I started in Moscow, and that's where I started writing my book and poems. I mean, my first book is actually an autobiography, and I wrote it when I was, I think, 24 or 25. Wonderful. So it's called The River Valley to Silicon Valley, and it was it's a story of my family. And in fact, my brother used to work in Chennai with HP, and now he has shifted to Bangalore. But it's also his story. So so this is when I was posted in Moscow, I found a lot of time to write while I was learning Russian language and literature. And after Moscow, I went to St. Petersburg, where I served for another 3 years. And I see somebody is writing Bolshoy Spasiba. So I'm a Russian speaker, я говорю по-русски. Каждый день. And then I went after St. Petersburg. I went to, it was in St. Petersburg actually, I wrote the Earth Anthem, which has been translated into over more than 140 languages now, and is a quest to have a common anthem for our planet. And I hope the college student would someday sing it or use it for certain, it's also translated into Tamil. So it would be a joy to see that. But after St. Petersburg, I came back to Delhi for 2 years, and where I was Under Secretary for Public Diplomacy, and I had a role in starting India's digital diplomacy. What we see a lot of today, it used to be, it took a lot of courage to start that during those days in 2010. After New Delhi, I went to Kathmandu, where I was posted for 3.5 years, and I wrote the book The Eight-Eyed Lord of Kathmandu, another poetry collection, and it has just been translated into Uriya actually, and it's also been translated into Nepali. And after it was in Nepal that Earth Anthem was put to music, and somebody is asking me if I can sing it. No, I mean, I cannot sing Earth Anthem, but I can recite it. And it's really a beautiful poem with a beautiful words for today's world. And it is our cosmic oasis, cosmic blue pearl, the most beautiful planet in the universe. All the continents and all the oceans, united we stand as flora and fauna. United we stand as a species of one earth, diverse cultures, beliefs, and ways. We are humans. Earth is our home. All the people and all the nations. One for all and all for one. United we unfurl the blue marble flag. The blue marble is the image of Earth taken from Apollo. So it's a vision. It's a vision of uniting everyone, not only the mankind, but also all the species with whom we share this planet. All the citizens of the Earth. I call them the citizens of the Earth. They're all. I mean, we are all interdependent. That's right. And I think this is so important today too. So that I was then after Nepal, I went to Brazil, and where I spent 3 years working in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, and traveling across the continent of Latin America, and how this book happened, The Alphabets of Latin America, right, which is being translated into it has been translated into Italian and now being translated into Spanish and Bengali and Malayalam. So University of Bath is going to organize a conference on this book. So it seems that this book has has created some buzz among the lovers of Latin America. And now I'm in Madagascar, almost on the verge of uh, verge of uh, verge of my tenure here. I mean, at the end of my tenure, and it's a I have something to offer to you. Is the Magic of Madagascar. It's a bilingual French and English edition. And my new poem coming Monsoon, I read an excerpt for you from that. So this has been my journey in brief as a diplomat and a poet.
It's absolutely wonderful. The diversity of your writing is something amazing, because your writing covers poetry, art, memoirs, global democracy, digital diplomacy. I mean, it's like an incredible range of subjects. And it's somehow you're able to pull it all together and make it into beautiful poetry. How did that happen? What was the inspiration there?
For me, both poetry and diplomacy, they complement each other. And I mean, my poetry is inspired by my diplomacy, and my diplomacy is inspired by my poetry. So they kind of feed into each other. And this is what I have found, that particularly all the poems I read about Neruda and Octavio Paz, they were themselves poet diplomats. And there are a number of them who are very well known, because there are certain things which are common between both poetry and diplomacy. And the first thing is that this is called ambiguity, or what Emily Dickinson calls tell it but tell it slant. And it's both there in diplomacy and poetry. The US poet laureate, previous one, Rita Doves, she says that, at least poetry teaches you to choose your words carefully, and if nothing else. So that's what is diplomacy about. It's about choosing your words very carefully. And so that's another common thing. Both as a poet and diplomat, you deal with words every day. Brevity of expression is another common feature between poetry and diplomacy. You say more in less words, and that's an art. And I think both poetry and diplomacy need that brevity.
That's right. Also, tell us a little bit very briefly about the poem that you recorded at the Library of Congress. What was that about, and what was the significance of that?
Well, I mean, I gathered that I was the first Indian poet to be invited there. So, and it's a long-running program. It's called Poet and the Poem, which features significant poets from across the world, actually. And it happened. I mean, I was in Washington D.C. for that, and went to the Library of Congress to record it. And it's the person who handles is a lady called Grace Cavalry, and she's currently the poet laureate for Maryland. And that time she was not, but I mean, she's been running this program since a long time. And I think it was a great honor to be asked to record my poems, because there are, I mean, there are so many poets out there who are much better than me. And, I've been writing poetry for a very short time. And it's a decade in a decade and a half is nothing, So I mean, I thought that it's a great honor, and I mean, I really cherished the conversation I had and the reading I had. The recording of the reading is available online.
Right. And tell us a bit about your Earth Anthem, which you have recited. And apparently, this was played at the United Nations to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. Tell us, this is something amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, all the good things happen to me unexpectedly, and not to me, but to the planet, to the earth, because an anthem is a praise, basically. An anthem is a celebratory song, and it's a, I when I was writing Earth Anthem, I thought that I mean, even football teams and universities and uh, they all have their own anthems, but our planet does not have one. Why we should not have a common anthem for our planet, which we can sing when we are
Absolutely.
happy or when we are sad, and which it does not matter from which place we come. I mean, there are so many stateless people. They don't have an anthem. So which anthem should they sing? I mean, I would rather use the word global citizens for the stateless people, because they are, if you belong to nowhere, you belong everywhere, actually. So so these are, Earth Anthem is something which help us to find something common. It does not matter from which country we are from. We are from one planet, and that's when I thought that it should be we should have a common anthem. And so far, the initiative has met a great success, with Earth Anthem being translated into 140 languages. So
amazing.
it means that there is some kind of quest, some kind of common quest to have a common anthem. Otherwise, not so many people would come forward to translate it. Last year, for example, hundreds of poets, musicians, artists from across the planet, they came to recite it. They recorded videos online and posted it on the Earth Day on 22nd of April. So I hope that by next April, the Earth Anthem crosses 200 languages. So so we cover the whole planet.
A very proud moment for you, I think, and for our country with this happening. Abhay, just to go to our question box, we have somebody who's, before I go back to the next section, which we have to talk about, your moon, Mars, and Venus. We have to come back to that. But I have a question. I'm just looking at it. Somebody has asked, what is your full name and how did you approach a publisher with poetry? So I think very quickly, maybe you can tell them Abhay K.
My full name is Abhay Kumar,
Abhay Kumar.
K is
there you go.
Kumar. Yeah, but I just keep it separate so that, there's no confusion between the writer Abhay
and the diplomat.
diplomat Abhay. So it's just to have a sort of a separate identity. And, K also stands for possibilities, you have it. It's open, so
that's right.
It begins at a point, but it's infinite. Its two arms are infinite,
And the part about the publisher that this person has asked.
The publisher. Well, see, I published my first book, which was a memoir called River Valley to Silicon Valley, with a publisher called Bookwell India, and. It was my first book, and I had no idea whom to approach. So I asked a colleague who works at RIS in Delhi, that how do you publish your books? And he suggested me that, you send your manuscript to this publisher, and if they like, they would publish it. So then, I had no idea that I'm going to be a poet, honestly. I wanted to write books called Proactive India, when I became a civil servant, and I could not complete that book. But then this memoir, when I started writing, then the first poem came, to me, and it was a poem called Soul Song. And it was when I was remembering walking in Delhi University, actually, from Kirorimal College, where I studied in Delhi University, to St. Stephen's College, via St. Stephen's College to the Rose Garden in Delhi. And it was then when I realized that, I think I should start writing poetry. And Soul Song is very brief. Let me read it to you. I was always here as blowing wind or falling leaves, as the shining sun or flowing streams, as the chirping birds or blooming buds, as the blue sky or the empty space. I was never born. I didn't die. So this was the first poem which came to me, and it's also from Upanishad actually. It comes from Nanam Chindanti Sastrani Nanam Dahati Pavaka. So about this indestructibility of the soul. So then, I started putting my poems on blog. I had a blog called Ideas and Universe, and people started commenting about it, that they really like it and so on. So I put it on a book format later and asked Bookbell to publish it, and if they would like to, and they agreed to. So that's how the Bookwell was my first poetry published.
Wonderful. What about your poems, your anthems on the moon, Mars, and Venus? How did those come about? Those fascinating that you were able to pick these very.
Well, I was very fascinated by these celestial bodies. So after writing Earth Anthem, I wrote anthem for SAARC actually, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. And then just before the moon, our moon mission, Chandrayaan 2, was going to go on the moon. I completed writing the moon anthem. I think it took me almost 6-7 months to write it, and when I wrote it, I realized that it's such a beautiful poem, and I should then continue. And it was sort of played everywhere during that time. It was on it was live actually at prime time on various TV channels. Celestial Diamond, Celestial Primeval Timepiece, Cosmic Lamppost, Night Soft Kiss, the first 2 lines of the moon anthem. And then I went to write anthem on Mars, because I thought the Mars mission is going to happen. And slowly my consciousness, started growing, and it expanded to the whole solar system. And I have written 10 anthems for the 10 celestial bodies in the solar system.
That's just simply wonderful. You've received the SAARC Literary Award for your contribution to South Asian poetry. You were nominated for the Pushcart Prize in 2013, the Asia Pacific Excellence Award in 2014, and your book, The Seduction of Delhi, was shortlisted for the Satish Varma Young Writer Awards. These are amazing landmark accolades that have come your way. It's so incredibly young. I keep saying this because you are a young man, but what comes next for you? What is happening now after this?
I'm so excited about my poem Monsoon, which is a book length poem, and it's a rubai. Rubai means a quatrain, and 150 stanzas of 4 lines each. And I think it's a very innovative poem in terms of documenting the flora and fauna of all these islands, the culture and cuisine of all these islands. For example, Madagascar, Mauritius, Reunion, Mayotte, Socotra, Seychelles, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and then all the way, what fascinates me most is about the food. I write about like jhalmuri and ghota garam, and the wildlife, like the Nilgiri tar, or the clouds and so on. So it goes all the way up to Himalayas, the two arms, Andaman and over the Andaman and Nicobar and Kolkata and so on, and Nepal, Bhutan, and this side all the way through Western Ghats and Rajasthan, Gujarat, and so on. So it's something which is, I mean, I think that it's a great feat for me. And the next book, which is In Light of Africa, I am really excited about to write this book, because I'm learning so much. I mean, earlier I was chatting with Ranveer about Mansa Musa and so on. So it's such a pleasure to, I mean, I think these are going to be. I also have a book coming called the Book of Bihari Literature. I'm from Bihar, and I have done this book, which is a book of fiction and non-fiction, and poetry, combines all these from over 3,000 years of writing in Bihar in 10 languages, from 10 languages. So for the first time, this translation from languages like my mother tongue, Maghi, is going to come out.
Abhay, one more question, there have been a lot of comments that have come up on the screen. And I think what I would like to ask you about is, what do you do for relaxation? Are you into fitness and sport? What do you do?
Well, I run every day, and I do yoga every day, and I do cycling. I play tennis. So
your tennis.
Lots of.
And I think we have something went off. This went off the screen.
I listen to bird song. That's my favorite music.
This suddenly came. And so,
hello,
are you going to read? Are you going to read one more poem to us before we wind up the session? We have a lot of comments on the chat box. Have you witnessed, somebody has asked, have you ever witnessed any conflicting ideas or views being a diplomat and the creative poet that you are?
Well, I mean, you see, I mean, the role of a diplomat and a poet is to find the common ground. So I always try to find the common ground. I think common ground always exists, the middle path, what Buddha said, and I think middle path is not a weakness. I mean, some people say that lyric poetry is about writing all the extremes, but I don't think so. I think there is space for the middle path, and I try to to find that path.
There's an interesting comment someone has made. They've written, I enjoyed the magic of Madagascar, a sort of sequence of photographs consisting of haikus, far from the Japanese haiku, but absolutely free. But the common thing to Japanese haiku is the theme, that is nature. Well,
yeah, that's my poet friend Hideko joining from Japan. And I'm so delighted to read your comment, Hideko, because, when I mentioned it in my introduction to the Magic of Madagascar, that it is actually the three great Japanese poets who inspired me to write this book. And these three are of course, known to so many people, but to whom it is not known. Let me read this passage from the Magic of Madagascar. It reminds me of my chance meeting with Gabriel Rosenstock in Wardha, India in 2013 at a poetry festival, and receiving a copy of The Naked Octopus, erotic haiku in English, and later getting a signed copy of the Essential Haiku, versions of Basso, Buson, and Issa from Robert Haas in Washington, D.C. in 2018. I started reading these books only after arriving in Madagascar and found the short haiku form as a perfect medium to capture Madagascar's exquisite and unparalleled natural beauty. So as Hideko says, the nature I mean, because nature, makes happen a, a thousand enlightenments every moment within me. It's so much of joy. I mean, if I do nothing else, I can, I can feel, I can still feel the magic of this nature. I mean, for me, the most beautiful music is a bird song. So and when I hear it, I'm like alive. So, and these haiku, I have tried to uh, capture that. It's also a record keeping for me, because later on, in the noise and bustle of the city, I may forget these. So I want to preserve these, sound and sights and whatever I've seen. So it's also sort of a, personal. I mean, most poets, most poetry is actually written for the poet himself. Others also find it interesting, is just a matter of chance.
That's very nice to hear that. We have one question which I'm sorry, it's a little personal, but somebody has asked, may I ask Abhay if you are married? Sorry to
Well, yeah,
read that out.
Yes, I am married. Thank
Okay,
you.
and they also ask, what is your process of writing poetry? That's a good question. How do
One
you?
of the one of the most Googled thing I find on internet is this thing, uh, Abhay K's wife. I don't know why people are so interested in it. So anyway, but what's the have you
What is
written
your process? How do you actually
process of
do
writing poetry?
writing? Yes.
Well, so so it's a I mean, I try to mix everything, like mm, imagination, uh, legends, mythologies, about everything, and try to combine them. When, for example, I was reading Octavio Paz's poem, so it has bits and pieces of real life mixed with imagination. For example, Octavio Paz meeting Buddha is an imagination, and but his library, the collapsing of the library is a true event. So I try to mix these things, and because as human beings, for us, uh, fact and fiction is as important. We are a species which loves illusions, and they have equal impact on us. So superstition is as important for us as fact is. So tradition is as important for us as you know enlightenment is, for example. So I mean, I think human beings are they cannot bear reality for a long time. That's why we love literature, because literature or art, for example, it kind of takes us away from us. It takes us into another world, and I try to bring all this together to create my poems.
You say that so beautifully. Also, what you just said is actually absolutely the essence of what you're doing with your words and your poetry. It's just beautifully explained. So I think, Abhay, is there anything else you would like to add to this? Would you like to? It's been, as always, incredible chatting with you, and this nice. I love this nice freewheeling chat format that we have. I think just going from one point to the other, and I think for as far as we are as an audience, we're very proud of your achievements, having heard all that you have achieved as an Indian and representing our country there. I think it's a wonderful thing. We are definitely very proud to meet you, to know you, and to listen to your poetry. And always best wishes for a lot more. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more coming from you. Anything else
Thank
you
you
would
so
like
much.
to add to this, Abhay? Please feel free to say it.
Yes, I mean, I think we are almost there of 1 hour time, but
Yes.
I would like to end it maybe with a poem, and maybe I should read a poem about caipirinha, which is a light poem. It's a drink in Brazil, and I asked a bartender in Brasilia for a drink. She said nothing, just offered me caipirinha. I drank it happily and asked, "What is it?" She said, "Brazil is body, caipirinha its soul. Drink whiskey when in Scotland, rum in the Caribbean. When in Brazil, drink caipirinha." Curious, I asked, "How is this magic potion made?" Her face blossomed like a sunflower, and she said, "Pour cachaça of your choice, squeeze a lemon, mix it with crushed sugar and ice, and love." She smiled, put a gentle kiss on my cheeks, and said, "A great drink must have in it love distilled." Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful evening, and everyone who joined us. And thank you, Vidya, so charming. And
Thank you.
Sir, can everyone give your best of smile? We just take one photo for the archives. Sir, can you switch on your video, Archana ma'am, please?
1 minute.
Archana ma'am, can you switch on your video?
It was so wonderful listening to you and the way you transcend landscapes, ages, Buddha, Neruda, from the contemporary to the classic. I think it was simply amazing. So I think my students will get really inspired by you. And I would try to see that you could become part of the syllabi, because it's important that we read our homegrown people more often and look at this cultural troupe and the landscape that people like you create in the contemporary literary world. Amazing. Heartiest congratulations. Sorry, I'm keeping us all away from a click, I think.
Harish, have you taken the photo?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much,
Have
everybody.
a good weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
especially the audience for joining this evening. And
thank you.
And everyone.
Thank you, Abhay. We'll keep in touch.
Yes.
Look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see.